The unexpected greeting. The spaceport on Valeria Prime buzzed with life. Tall buildings shimmered under the twin suns. Traders from 100 planets moved in every direction. Humans were rare here, but one had just arrived. Captain Ronan stepped off his small transport ship, stretching his arms. He wasn't dressed like a hero. Worn jacket, dusty boots, backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked more like a traveler than a warrior. As he walked into the market area, curious eyes followed him. Some whispered, others stared openly. He was used to it. Being a human in alien cities always brought attention. But Ronan didn't mind. He only came to deliver medical supplies and be on his way. But then, something strange happened. A soft voice called out, "Protector." Ronan turned his head. A young alien girl, maybe in her early 20s by human age, stood in the crowd. She was delicate, with glowing blue skin and long silver hair that shimmered like moonlight. Her large eyes looked directly at him with a strange mix of fear and awe. Before he could speak, the girl stepped forward, then fell to her knees. The crowd gasped. She lowered her head all the way to the ground, both hands stretched in front of her. A formal bow. Ronan blinked in shock. "Whoa, hey, there's no need to bow." The girl didn't respond. Everyone around them went quiet. Even the traders and vendors stopped talking. It was like the whole market had frozen. "What's going on?" Ronan muttered. A nearby vendor leaned over and whispered, "You must have done something sacred. That gesture, it's only for gods or ancient warriors. Maybe you're the one." "The one?" Ronan frowned. "I'm just delivering boxes." Still, the alien girl didn't move. Ronan slowly stepped forward and knelt beside her. "Miss, please get up. I don't know what this is about, but I'm not—" Suddenly, the girl raised her head. Tears sparkled in her eyes. "You don't remember me?" she whispered, voice trembling. "What?" "You came in my dream. You carried the sword of the first flame. You stood against the shadows. You protected me." Ronan's heart skipped a beat. "I think you're confusing me with someone else." She shook her head. "I know your face. I would never forget the man who saved my world." Before Ronan could react, a strange warmth spread across his left arm. He pulled back his sleeve, and the strange mark he'd had since birth began to glow faintly. A spiral symbol, one he'd never been able to explain. The alien girl gasped. So did others in the crowd. "That mark," someone whispered. "It's real. He has the mark of the Guardian." "I thought it was just a myth," said another. Ronan stood up, now uneasy. "Okay, what is happening here?" The girl finally rose to her feet, hands shaking. "My name is Ayari," she said softly. "You saved my ancestors in stories past, down for generations, and now you've returned to save me." Ronan looked around at the gathering crowd. More aliens bowed their heads as they realized what Ayari had seen. "This has to be a mistake," he said. "I'm just here to—" Boom! A loud sound echoed across the plaza. Black-armored figures appeared at the end of the street. Their armor shimmered with dark light and their faces were hidden. Everyone began to scatter, running in fear. Ayari's eyes widened. She backed away. "They found me." "Who are they?" Ronan asked. "The ones I ran from," she whispered. "The ones who destroyed my village. They want me back, dead or alive." She turned to Ronan. "I gave you my vow because I believed you could protect me. Now I beg you, chosen one, don't let them take me." Ronan stared at her, then looked back at the advancing figures. He didn't know why this was happening. He didn't understand the mark on his arm. He didn't know who Ayari really was, but he couldn't walk away. "Stay close," he said firmly. "We run on my signal." Ayari nodded, eyes filled with trust. As they ducked behind a pillar and prepared to run, Ronan whispered under his breath, "What did I just get myself into?" The meaning of Herbo, Ronan, and Ayari ran through the narrow alleyways of Valeria's lower district. The streets were made of shining stone, and alien symbols glowed faintly on the walls. Behind them, the sound of boots and metallic growls echoed. They turned a sharp corner and ducked behind a crate. Ronan peered out. The armored soldiers had lost them, for now. Ayari leaned against the wall, breathing fast. Her silver hair stuck to her face, and her eyes kept scanning the shadows. Ronan looked at her seriously. "Start talking. Why did you bow to me like that back there?" Ayari looked at him, and then looked away. "It's not just a greeting," she said quietly. "It's an ancient vow." Ronan frowned. "A vow?" She nodded. "Long ago, our people were hunted by shadow beasts, creatures with no name. We prayed for protection. One day, a being came from the stars. A human, just like you." Ronan raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like a legend." "To you, maybe," Ayari replied, her voice calm but firm. "To us, it was survival. He carried a glowing mark, just like yours." Ronan pulled up his sleeve again. The spiral mark on his arm had stopped glowing, but it still pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat under the skin. "I've had this since I was born," he said. "My parents thought it was just a birthmark." "It's not," Ayari said. "That mark means you are a descendant of the first guardian, the one who saved us. When I saw it, I had no choice but to bow. It's our law. Our hearts recognize the blood of our protector." "But I'm no hero," Ronan said. "I'm just a delivery guy." Ayari tilted her head. "Then why did your mark glow when I was in danger?" That question hit Ronan like a punch. Before he could reply, an old voice spoke from the shadows. "She's right." Both Ronan and Ayari turned quickly. An old alien man stood nearby, wearing thick robes and leaning on a staff. His eyes glowed yellow. "I saw you in the plaza," the old man said, "and I saw the girl's bow." "Do you know what it means?" Ronan asked. The old man nodded. "In our world, that bow is not a gesture. It is a sacred offering. When someone bows like that, it means they are placing their entire soul in your hands. You are now her protector, her guide. Her fate is tied to yours." Ronan stared at Ayari. "You could have told me that before." She looked down, ashamed. "I thought you would walk away if I said it out loud." The old man chuckled. "She gave you the bond of trust. Few do it. Fewer survive it." "What happens now?" Ronan asked, standing up. "You must take her to the Temple of Trials," the old man replied. "Only then will the mark reveal your path. But be warned, those who hunt her won't stop. And once you accept the bond, you are no longer just a traveler." "I never accepted anything," Ronan argued. "Your heart already did," Ayari said softly. Ronan looked at her. She was still young, still frightened, but she had bowed to him without knowing if he would even care. She risked her life based on a dream, a story, and a glowing mark. Why? Something inside him said this wasn't just about legends. This was personal. Suddenly, clang. A metal spike hit the crate behind them. The soldiers had found them. The old man shouted, "Go now! Use the tunnels!" Ayari grabbed Ronan's hand. "Follow me!" As they ran, Ronan's thoughts raced faster than his feet. She bowed to him, because she believed in something even. He didn't believe about himself. And the more he stayed near her, the more that strange mark on his arm began to feel less like a birthmark, and more like a key. The burden of her vow. The underground tunnels were cold and wet. Strange glowing moss lit the path as Ronan and Ayari moved quickly, their footsteps echoing in the silence. Ronan's boots splashed through puddles, his breath heavy. "You know, I came here just to drop off medicine, not get chased by armored assassins." Ayari walked quietly beside him. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked tired. "You still don't understand what it means," she said softly. "What?" he asked. "The vow I gave you. You think it's just words or some ceremony, but for me it's more than that. When I bowed, I gave up my freedom." Ronan stopped walking. "What do you mean?" Ayari turned toward him. Her silver hair shimmered in the tunnel's blue light. I can't leave you now. Not until my debt is paid. It's how our vow works. If I die before it's fulfilled, my soul doesn't pass on. Ronan felt a chill run through him. That sounds intense. She nodded. It is. He looked at her closely. You knew all this, and you still bowed? Ayari didn't answer. Instead, she reached into the folds of her cloak and pulled out a small metallic charm. It looked like a tiny sun with curved wings. This is the sigil of binding, she explained. I wore it since I was a child. My mother said I would know when it was time to use it. It only activates when the right one appears. As she held it close to Ronan's glowing mark, the sigil began to shine, dim at first, then brighter. It hummed. Guess I'm the right one then, Ronan muttered. Ayari looked away. I didn't expect it to be someone like you. Ronan chuckled. What's that supposed to mean? You're kind, she said. Too kind. You keep pretending you don't care, but you stayed. Most would have run. Ronan sighed. I'm not a hero, Ayari. I don't know anything about saving people or fighting dark armies. I don't even know how your world works. She smiled, sadly. That's exactly why the Bond chose you. Just then the tunnel trembled. A loud thump echoed through the walls. Ronan grabbed her wrist. Earthquake? Ayari's expression changed. No, it's them. They've followed us underground. The sound grew louder. Then came growls. Mechanical, inhuman. Shadows moved behind them. They're not just soldiers, Ayari whispered. They use beasts, made of metal and hate. Ronan looked around. There was no clear way out. Give me a weapon, he said quickly. Ayari hesitated, then handed him a short alien blade. Its edges glowed faintly with energy. I don't know how to use this, he said, gripping it awkwardly. Your blood will guide you. The enemies rushed in. Tall, armored figures with glowing red eyes and metal beasts crawling beside them. Ronan's mark burned. For a split second, his vision turned gold. The world slowed down. He saw where to strike. He moved. The blade cut through metal like it was cloth. Ayari watched in awe. The prophecy had said the Guardian would fight like someone who had lived many lives, that he would carry memories in his blood. And now she saw it happening. Ronan didn't know how, but something inside him had awakened. Minutes later, the last attacker fell. Ronan dropped the blade, breathing hard. He turned to Ayari. I'm starting to think you're not the only one tied to this vow. Ayari stepped closer, her voice trembling. You protected me, not because of the bond, but because that's who you are. For the first time, Ronan didn't push her words away. But then she said something that froze him. There's something else you need to know. When I gave you the vow, I passed a part of myself into you. Ronan looked at her, confused. What does that mean? Ayari's hand hovered near his chest. It means, if I die, you die too. The tunnel went silent. Hunters in the dust. The surface of Valeria had changed. Once bright and colorful, the desert was now covered in a thick red mist. The twin suns were hidden behind ash clouds, casting a haunting glow. The air smelled like burned metal. Ronan and Ayari stood at the edge of a forgotten wasteland, the ash plains. Very few dared to cross it. Even the locals called it cursed. This is where you want to go? Ronan asked, covering his face with a cloth. Ayari nodded. There's no other way. The Temple of Trials lies beyond the dust. If we stay on the common roads, the hunters will catch us again. Ronan glanced back at the distant mountains. So we either walk into the cursed zone, or straight into the arms of metal killers. She looked at him. You're afraid. I'm human. We call that common sense. Despite the joke, he followed her. Hours passed. The red dust clung to their clothes. The wind howled. Strange bones littered the ground, twisted shapes that didn't belong to any known creature. Even the plants here looked like they were trying to crawl away from the soil. Ronan started feeling dizzy. Ayari touched his shoulder. You must breathe slowly. The dust is laced with old energy. Old energy? He coughed. You mean magic? She shook her head. Worse, forgotten pain. This place remembers war. Suddenly a sound pierced the silence. Clink, clink, clink. Metal scraping stone. Ronan drew the alien blade from his side. Ayari crouched low. From the fog, a figure stepped forward. It was one of the hunters, but not like the others. This one had no helmet. Its head was smooth and dark with glowing veins of blue running down its neck. Its eyes burned red, but they didn't blink. It spoke in a voice made of static. Protector. You carry what was stolen. Ronan held his ground. I don't know what you're talking about. You wear the mark. You hold the vow. She is ours. Ayari stood in front of Ronan. You have no right. She shouted. I gave him my vow freely. The creature's head tilted slowly. Then your soul will burn with his. It raised its arm. A thin black spear formed in its hand. Without thinking, Ronan pushed Ayari aside. The spear flew straight into his chest, but instead of piercing him, it shattered on contact. Ronan looked down. His chest was glowing. Not just the mark now, his whole body. Ayari's eyes widened. The bond has grown. The hunter stepped back, unsure. Then it gave a loud screech, and more shadows rushed from the mist. Ayari grabbed Ronan's arm. We can't fight them all. They ran again, but the dust wasn't empty. As they stumbled through ruined stone arches, the ground gave way, collapsing into a hidden cavern below. They hit the bottom hard. Dust filled the air. Ronan groaned, then looked around. The space was ancient. Strange symbols lined the walls. A large stone structure sat at the center, glowing, faintly. Ayari gasped. We found it. The Whispering Chamber. This is one of the last gateways to the temple. Ronan blinked. I thought we were lost. You were led, Ayari whispered. The vow guides more than just hearts. It guides step and fate. Above them, the hunters searched, but the dust protected the chamber. It couldn't be seen from the surface. Ronan sat down, breathing hard. Ayari, what are they really? Those hunters? She was silent for a moment, then she answered. They were once guardians, like you, but they broke their vows. Now they serve the darkness that sleeps beyond the stars. And they want you? She nodded slowly. Because my soul is still pure. And if they take me, the bond will fall, and so will you. Ronan looked at her. Her face was tired, dusty but fierce. I don't care about temples or prophecies, he said, but I do care about you. Ayari blinked, surprised. Ronan. Before she could speak, the glowing structure pulsed. A stone door opened in. The wall, leading deeper underground. The temple was waiting. But so were the truths they both feared. The blood oath. The stone door closed behind them with a deep boom. Now they were inside the Temple of Trials. A forgotten place, older than any kingdom, buried beneath red dust and time itself. Ronan lit a small torch from his pack. Its flickering light danced across massive stone carvings. The walls told stories, warriors with glowing marks, beasts from other stars, and strange symbols he couldn't understand. Ayari moved quietly. Her fingers brushed the ancient stone, as if she'd been here in a past life. This place, it knows me, she whispered. Feels like it knows me too, Ronan said, running his fingers over the spiral-shaped sigils. One of them pulsed faintly under his touch. Ayari stopped in front of a circular platform in the middle of the room. This is where it must happen, she said. What must happen? She turned toward him slowly. The vow must be sealed. Ronan frowned. Didn't we already do that? No, she said softly. What I gave you was the plea of protection. It was only the beginning. The full bond, the blood oath, has not been completed yet. Ronan took a step back. Blood? What are we talking about here? Ayari reached into a stone basin beside the platform. She pulled out a small dagger, ancient and carved from bone. The handle glowed faintly in her hands. This blade has never killed, she said. It was made only for the vow. Ronan raised his hands. Whoa, are you planning to cut me? Only a touch, she said. Gently. One drop from you, one from me, and the temple will decide if we're worthy. Ronan looked into her eyes. They were steady, calm. But behind them he saw fear, not of the ritual, but of rejection. He stepped forward. I don't understand all this, he said. But I trust you. Ayari handed him the blade. He looked down at it. His reflection shimmered in its curved surface. He took a breath and gently pressed it to his palm. A single drop of blood landed on the platform. Ayari did the same. When her drop touched his, the platform exploded in light. Symbols all around the room lit up, gold, blue, and crimson. The carvings on the walls moved, like a story coming to life. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. The bond is awakened. Ronan felt heat rush through his chest. The spiral mark on his arm flared, and a strange warmth moved through his veins. Ayari stumbled and reached for his hand. It's happening. The platform lifted off the ground. They floated, together, suspended in the air. A glowing sphere surrounded them, and then they saw it. A vision, not a dream, not a memory. Something older. A battlefield, a guardian. One that looked just like Ronan, stood against shadow creatures. Ayari stood beside him, her eyes glowing with power. They weren't strangers. They were partners, bound by something more than fate. The vision faded. They landed gently back on the ground. Ayari looked at Ronan, breathless. Now I remember. Remember what? She stepped closer. We've done this before. Ronan stared. What do you mean? Our souls are tied, she said. We made the vow once, lifetimes ago. This is not our first bond. Before Ronan could respond, the temple shook violently. Ayari looked toward the sealed entrance. They found us. The red glow of the hunters pierced through cracks in the wall. Ronan grabbed the blade again. Then let them come. Ayari's eyes glowed now, just like his. Together, she whispered. Outside, the dust swirled. The enemy prepared to break through stone. But inside the temple, something ancient had awakened, and it had chosen them. Escape to the temple walls cracked. Dust fell like ash from the ceiling. Ronan and Ayari stood shoulder to shoulder on the sacred platform, their hands still faintly glowing from the blood oath. The moment of peace was over. Now came the fight. Boom! A giant chunk of stone slammed down near the chamber door. From the gap, red eyes stared in. Then came the sound, the horrible shriek of the hunters' machines. Ayari looked at Ronan. They're breaching the outer ring. If they break the final seal, this place collapses. Then we need to go, Ronan said, gripping the ancient blade. Now. Ayari ran to a stone wall filled with glowing symbols. She pressed her hand on one of them and the stone parted, revealing a hidden spiral stairway that led down, glowing faintly. The true temple lies beneath, she said. This was only the gate. Ronan followed her down the stairs. The passage felt alive. The walls pulsed faintly, as if breathing. Strange whispers echoed in the dark, echoes of ancient voices long forgotten. Does this place talk? Ronan asked. Ayari nodded. It remembers everything. It was built by the first guardians, long before my people had a name. As they reached the lower level, the air changed. It was warmer, brighter. The walls were covered with carvings, not just of warriors, but of pairs, human and alien, side by side, hand in hand. This isn't just a temple, Ronan realized. It's a tomb, a memorial. Ayari touched one, of the carvings. No, it's a promise. These were all pairs who made the vow, protector and bound, guardian and guide. She turned to him. And now, we're part of that same story. Before he could respond, the platform behind them exploded. The hunters had entered. A massive armored one led the charge, taller than the others, its body forged from black alloy and ancient bones. Its voice was layered with static and rage. The vow dies here. Ayari stood firm. You fear the bond. That's why you hunt us. The hunter raised its weapon. The bond breaks the old order. We were once pure. Until the humans came. It charged. Ronan stepped in front of Ayari. But just as the enemy swung, the symbols on the wall flashed. A shockwave blasted outward, knocking the hunter back with a roar. Ayari blinked. The temple, it's protecting us. Ronan held up his glowing mark. Maybe it thinks we belong here. The floor shifted beneath them, and a pillar rose from the center of the chamber. On it rested a twin-blade staff, an ancient weapon glowing with blue flame. Ayari gasped. That's the Guardian's final gift. Ronan grabbed it. The moment his hand touched the staff, visions flashed before him. Ancient battles, stars falling, 1,000 lives lived. But when he opened his eyes, everything became clear. He was no longer just Ronan. He was the last of the line. The final Guardian. Ayari placed her hand over his heart. Now you must lead us out. Ronan nodded. Let's end this. They ran through a final doorway, the hunters chasing close behind. As they passed through, the walls collapsed, sealing the tunnel. The temple had made its choice. Behind them, the screams of their enemies were swallowed by stone. They didn't stop running until they reached the open air. The twin sons of Valeria broke through the red mist. They were alive. But now they were something more. Not hunted, not hiding, awakened. Why she truly bowed. The red mist of Valeria was gone. For the first time in days, the sky was clear. Twin suns warmed the quiet plains. As birds glided through golden clouds, the world felt at peace. Ronan and Ayari stood on a hilltop overlooking the ruins of the temple. Behind them, the wind whispered through the tall silver grass. In front of them, the open galaxy waited. But neither of them moved. Ayari was silent, her eyes fixed on the horizon. The blood oath had changed everything, bound them in ways Ronan still didn't fully understand. But one question still remained in his heart. He finally broke the silence. Ayari, when you bowed to me in the plaza, before you knew about my mark, before the temple or the visions, why did you really do it? She looked up at him, then down at her hands. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she turned toward him, her voice, soft and full of emotion. I bowed because I was tired of being alone. Ronan blinked, surprised. I lived my whole life hearing the stories of the Guardian, she said. They told me to believe, to wait. That one day someone would come, who would see me, not just as a burden or a target or a tool, but as someone worth protecting. She stepped closer. When I saw you walk through the crowd, you looked so ordinary. Not a warrior, not a hero, but your eyes. They didn't carry hunger, or fear, or control. Just kindness. She placed her hand gently on his chest right over the glowing mark. I bowed not because of prophecy or duty. I bowed because, at that moment, I felt safe. Ronan swallowed hard. But you risked your soul. I would have lost it anyway, she whispered. If I had stayed hiding, if I had never trusted anyone, I would have faded, empty. Ronan gently took her hand in his. You don't have to be alone anymore. Ayari smiled, a soft tear sliding down her cheek. She bowed again. Not in fear, not in desperation. This time it was slow, graceful, and full of peace. Ronan watched, then did something no Guardian in their history had done. He knelt in front of her, the bond pulsed between them, alive and balanced. No longer just protector and bound, but equals. The wind blew around them like a gentle song, and the glowing mark on Ronan's arm finally faded. Its purpose was fulfilled. Ayari looked into his eyes. "What happens now?" she asked. Ronan smiled. "Now? We live. We protect others. We write our own story." She reached up and kissed his cheek. And somewhere deep beneath them, in the remains of the Temple of Trials, ancient carvings glowed once more, recording the vow of two souls who had found each other across stars, danger, and time.